Hello Internet, I'm me, and after strangling my webcam in frustration, I'm finally back. Yes, and now with Season 1, Episode 1 of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Okay, it's Season 1, Episode 1 and 2, but honestly, I'm not going to be talking about much of the episode, more as the symbolisms and stuff like that inside of it. Because, honestly, you should know this episode by now. If not, it's a pretty good, very good intro to the season. And honestly, it's probably why season 1 was better than season 2. Why? Because you had characters who were one-note archetypes. And each one of these one-note archetypes were, you had the nerd, you had Twilight Sparkle, you had the jock, Rainbow Dash, you had the shy one, Fluttershy, you had the crazy one, Pinkie Pie, you had the girly one, Rarity, and then you had the country bumpkin, Applejack. In each of these characters were their one-note archetypes to a T, except for, unlike other shows that just take these archetypes, play them out, and act like they're normal, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic actually starts out by making fun of their archetypes, or criticizing them, while having Twilight Sparkle, being our Connect character, make fun of and critique every single one of these characters and their archetypes, saying how weird, stupid, and crazy they are. And that's a great access point to a show that is completely new. Taking something, by making these archetypes, making these one-note characters on purpose to draw you in by criticizing them. And you're like, yeah, I'm on your side. I got somebody to root for. So, once you're rooting for this one character against these other characters, when that character you're rooting for starts to change and has to be forced to work with these other characters, you do as well. And you start to see the qualities that you start to like in these weird and crazy characters that you at first didn't like at all. So, in a way, these characters are one note until they all come together. And at that point, they all start to change and all start to actually learn off of each other, ping-ponging their personalities and quirks and whips against each other, changing each other in that fashion. And I'm sorry about that tongue twister there. For some reason, I couldn't say the word ping pong. Anywho, and honestly, this was the best way to open up any season. You get these characters who have to learn to change. Not in the first 2 episodes, but through the entire season as they encounter new challenges with not only each other, but their environment, which was brilliantly established in the first 2 episodes. Using ancient legends and actually building their mythology off of a threat showed that this show would actually introduce ancient demons and weird creatures from beyond the norm and weird little magical things that could happen inside, their world. And this could bring up some real conflict and some really interesting stories. And in this first season, this is where they got their swing. And this is how the best way you can introduce a show. By introducing not only the mythology, the characters, and the storylines, but you also make all 3 of them a growing archetype by making each character not only just stagnant, but growing by interacting with other characters. You have a mythology that is continually growing and being redefined by leaving open questions while giving you some vague and actual designed answers. And you have a storyline that not only is not episodic, but it is at the same time, making every episode kind of seem like it's one-off, but still tied in a storyline. It's kind of like life. And I like that about this opening. It establishes everything on those 3 levels to a great degree, showing that everything from Twilight Sparkle just being an antisocial person who just wants to read her books, go home, and be in her little world, even when going to a new place where she has to make friends to socialize. That's kind of the reflection of how the internet age was affecting people at the time. And this was a great way to introduce it. A lot of kids in this time, and I think still now, would rather just be on the internet instead of actually going out and playing or interacting with other children, especially if other people seem weird to them. And therefore, showing a show where at first a character wants to be like that, to just sit in front of a box with pages, instead of actually being outside and meeting new people and just staying in their little world, but having that world broken open and shown what can really be valued, is a great way to not only send a message to teenagers, kids, and adults, but to show how characters can grow. And using these connections is a brilliant way to get people addicted to the show, and that's probably how it happened. These characters are connective. You can see yourself being one of these characters, whether the weaknesses are damning or not. And this is what helps open this show up. And I loved it. And I didn't notice this before back when I first watched it, that this is why people get addicted to this show. Not only is it a show that is written for both children and adults at the same time, it actually has a lot of good symbolisms to it and a good mythology to it, to a point where you don't know if it's Greek mythology or just mythology in general with random creatures and monsters used in creative fashions, which is used later on in the season 1 and season 2, but is established right here in the first 2 episodes, showing that these characters are going to be in these kinds of dangers, and it's going to be really kind of cool. Now, the first thing I wanted to say was the elements of harmony was the pinnacle of what was really, really freaking cool in this on these 2 episodes, and that's what kind of got me hooked on the show. Kind of reminded me of the Power Rangers finishers, and that's what kind of got me hooked. But then going back, it's actually showing how, well, if you watch Power Rangers or Super Sentai and My Little Pony back to back, there's a scary parallel to how they work. Both are establishing on friendship and teamwork, except for My Little Pony is just animated. It's really kind of cool and creepy at the same time. Now I kind of want to see a Power Rangers My Little Ponies crossover. And yes, I've seen the YouTube videos. But my thing is this. Episode 1 opened up strongly with using a character to connect to and criticize what was going on, while giving an underlying threat and a sense of urgency to the time that this nightmare moon could come out at any time and spread darkness into the world. And she does. She gets the world in darkness. She wins right when she gets there. She doesn't have to go and take over the world. She's done it. And the princess is nowhere to be found. See, episode 2 is pretty much Twilight Sparkle still kind of wanting to do this all on her own, but as she goes on, she figures out, holy crap, I do need these friends, and they do things that I could never have done, and she opens up. She shows how another person who could be vastly different from you can actually help you in the best of ways. And it's just such great character depth in each little moment that it shows that this show is a little more mature than actual people will give it credit for. And that's why I love these 2 first episodes and why it was such great opener. It actually allowed their characters, not just defining the characters, but allowing them to grow naturally through the progression of each other. But by the end of season 1, that's kind of why they've all become good friends, so all of the turmoil in season 2 kind of seems a bit hollow. But I'll get to that later, because next time we're going to go on to episode 3. And if you're wondering my rating, 10 out of 10 for both of the episodes, if you didn't notice. See you guys next time. Peace.